Welcome back to Street Smart. We kick off our series, The Power of Billionaires, by looking at the energy bets some big investors are making. Today, we check out the engines that will power the cars of the future. At least some hope they will. Bill Gates and venture capitalist Vinod Khosla are putting their money into a redesigned combustion engine.
Eco Motors, a small company located near the heart of Detroit's Motor City, has big aspirations. Its engine uses opposed pistons and cylinders to increase fuel efficiency and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Eco Motors also has big backers. Venture capitalist Vinod Khosla and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates have put more than $23 million into the company.
Having Bill Gates as a major investor is important. He's a very smart cookie. It's very aligned with what he's trying to do in the world.
Don Runkle, Eco Motors CEO, says the company's OPOC engine could potentially be used in ships, 18-wheeler trucks, light-duty cars, and trucks.
This market is an enormous market. It's at least 120 million engines a year are produced and sold, and that's about a $350 billion market.
Other companies like Pinnacle are also working on reinventing the combustion engine.
The technology is a breakthrough in terms of what we're seeing right now. This one has legs.
Pinnacle's opposed piston engine also eliminates the cylinder head, making the engine lighter, more fuel efficient, and cheaper to make. Creator Monty Cleve says it will play well among the billions in the developing world who can't afford vehicles like Priuses and Leafs that can cost $40,000.
Now think about how many of those vehicles you'll sell in India or Indonesia or Africa to people that live there. They barely even have financing to buy a couple $1,000 car.
A third startup, San Diego-based Acades Power, is working on its own version of an opposed piston engine. Shauna McIntyre, a self-described gearhead who's in charge of getting this engine off the ground, says Acades has its eye on the U.S. truck market.
The leverage is in trucks when it comes to fuel efficiency. 5% of our vehicles on the road, being trucks, consume 25% of the fuel in the U.S.
Some analysts say the engines do have a chance of making inroads in emerging markets.
These new companies are coming along, like Pinnacle and others, that are looking at new ways of designing a combustion engine. They're probably, you have to think about them as niche applications, niche markets.
So far, no U.S. automakers are signing on. Acades has yet to strike a deal, but Pinnacle is working with a major Asian scooter manufacturer. And Eco Motors, the company backed by Gates and Khosla, has entered into a development agreement with the heavy truck and engine manufacturer, Navistar.
Now, no major automobile or trucking company has really done a major engine architecture change in the last 50 years that I know of. When they do that, that's a big deal.
Well, joining us right now from our bureau out in San Francisco, Rohini Chakravarthy. She's a partner at NEA, and that's the venture capital firm that's invested in Pinnacle Engines, one of the companies working on new engines that we just featured in our report. NEA, by the way, is also making other bets on alternative energy. Rohini, good to have you here on Street Smart. Let's talk about this engine. I mean, what's the marketplace that you guys expect? You've made an investment. How big a market could it be potentially?
Well, one way to think about it, Carol, is, by 2030, something like 20% of engines are expected to have new technologies, like being hybrids or electric. That still means 80% of the transportation market is going to run on, what we think of as traditional fossil fuels. We think that if you bring in new architectures where you can bring down the fuel consumption of these vehicles, you get a big return on investment. And that's kind of the starting point of the investing thesis for us with Pinnacle.
Well, that's a good point. I'm curious, because let me ask you, what about those stricter fuel efficiency standards that the Obama administration designed in July? Does that give a big boost to what you guys are doing, whether it's Pinnacle or whether it's Eco Motors?
I think it's certainly helpful to have that direction, to have CAFE standards that are stricter. But what we are thinking of is that we go to markets where the market is demanding better fuel efficiency. We talked about India or Indonesia as these markets. People who buy their first vehicle usually think of fuel economy as as a pocketbook issue. They are really concerned about the operational expenses, and that's a more normal market in some ways to sell these new technologies into, which is the other reason why we were really excited about Pinnacle engines going out of the U.S. first. and building a market elsewhere before they come back to the U.S.
You know, Rohini, we hear a lot of talk about the future of electric cars and the batteries being developed to power them. Electric cars like Nissan's Leaf, which cost more than $32,000, they're not really selling as well as Nissan expected. Consumers are also worried about costly batteries and limited driving range. I mean, how does all of that affect the redesigned combustion engine?
Yeah, we're, as an investment prospect, just to take a step back, NEA is an investor across a lot of these technologies. We're also investors in Fisker. We're really excited about Fisker. And if you just look at the U.S. market versus elsewhere, the U.S. market, cars are bought on a lot of things. People want to buy cars for styling, for comfort, for safety, and fuel economy is just one piece of what they're looking for. So, when you're building an electric car for the U.S. market, you have to cater to all of those requirements. In the emerging markets, we see huge organic demand growth in people coming on and buying these things for the first time. So, the line that I like to use is to say, just like people went from no telephones to cell phones, they'll go from no energy consumption or very little energy consumption to kind of clean energy consumption just as a way of adoption. And that's what's exciting about going to market elsewhere.
Rohini, we have about a minute left here. I'd be remiss not to ask you about kind of what we think of as some of the more traditional alternative energy areas, and that's solar and wind. You guys have invested in those areas. What do you think is going to be the prospect for solar and wind?
We are still, very bullish about the prospects for clean energy. We have 35 companies in the clean tech space, including companies like Suniva, which is in the solar space. We're really excited about. So we think that the times are choppy right now, but it'll be good times for clean tech over the next 10 years or so. So we still tend to think of it as a really good sector to invest in.
So you're not scaling back any of your investments, just quickly, on solar or wind?
Yeah, no, I think we're not scaling back. We are definitely metering this based on what the external market looks like, including what the financing environment looks like for all of these companies. But we're certainly one of the people, we're sticking to the energy sector, and we expect to have some really good wins in this area.
We got to run. Rohini, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Carol.
NEA
thank
partner
you so much.
Rohini Chakravarthy.